I just want to point out that this box is huge. That's a foot ruler right there, and that's just the width. I think it's as big as a Sinanju box, maybe, perhaps. It's huge. Alright, so I finally got around building the base of the Liger Zero. And it doesn't have the Zero armor or the Schneider armor yet. And well, I'm gonna go to the Schneider armor in a bit. Actually, I found this really cool thing. It has a clear orange. It's a little dark because of the blue and my background, but it's kind of cool. I think this is the core that powers up a Liger Zero. And I believe it just goes up here, right in the center, which is a cool gimmick. Got a little bit of a difficulty putting this in, but there we go. And in terms of articulation, this is very articulate for the neck. Can look left and right without any problems. Up and down. And you have one of the arms. Well, it's same as a leg. Very movable. This joint is a little stiff, but you know, you kind of need stiffness since it's a big kit, and that's pretty good that they have that. It doesn't swivel, just a little, and actually you don't really need it to swivel. And you have the hind legs, which is a little different. Same thing, you got that joint. And actually this, I'm just gonna call it shoulder. They're articulate as well. It's actually separate. As you can see there, there's a straight peg that goes in, and this one just kind of rides on top of it, which is a little better in terms of design, because you don't want this hanging on here and the shoulder hanging over there. It's because you can move the you can kind of move the leg separately from the shoulder, which is good. Now for the main torso, it's actually built in three parts, and that's another interesting thing about this kit. So you can have that movement right there, and going from the bottom, the three parts. You have this section here, mid section, and the front part, and you have this armor. Actually. I should put this later on with all the weapon, but I'll just leave it there. This is where you connect the action base. I would say use the action base one for 1/100s, since it's a big kit, and I will show you in a bit later on size comparisons. And you have the tail. It's also quite articulate, depending on how you twist this middle part right here. There's actually 3 of them, and there's an extra one, but if you made it too long, it doesn't quite fit well, or in terms of ratio. So just keep it at 3. that's it. Another thing I want to point out are these golden pieces right here. They're really great. Then there's no marks when you cut them out of the tree, but the thing is, when you push it in, it's hidden. So there's no nub marks for this, and there's quite a couple of them over there, and there's one up here, and I think there's one inside there, but it's covered by this. That's pretty cool. Also, almost forgot. Let's see. Do I have a ruler here? Just give you the length of this. 1 second as I try to grab my ruler. There we go. This is about a foot ruler, and it's about a little bit more than a foot in terms of length. And in terms of height, I would say it's about 5 inches or 5.5, depending on how high you have him standing. Unfortunately, you cannot have him sit down, though I haven't really tried it yet. But the thing is, it doesn't have a... You cannot bend this. But I guess you can, play around with it. You can have this fold down, so he'll be sitting in a... Actually, let's go try that. There we go. Just lower the hind legs down. So he can sit. And going back to the face, you can open the jaw. Awesome, really nice teeth. You do have to glue the teeth, but I think you don't really need to because you're covering it with a black piece right here. But there are parts in this kit that you do have to super glue. So if you are deciding to build this, you gotta have super glue. And you have the palette right there. It's great that it's already pre-painted. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah, so this is the Liger Zero without the armor, but I'm gonna go ahead and add the Schneider. And I just want to add this shot right here. This is SIC Fang Joker riding the Liger Zero, and I think it's a cool, kind of like a pose that you can do, especially if you actually have the Liger Zero kit with armor. The color blends well. You have a white, black, and red, and I think it's pretty cool. And it's something you can try out, especially if you have a 1/6 scale figures. Alright, so for this part, actually I'm just going to do one side since it's a duplicate. So first off, we're going to put some armor. And I think this one goes here on the bottom. There's a peg hole right there and another right there. So this one will just go on top. And just increase the distance. This one will just go underneath, like so. There we go. And this one lastly, we're just going to put on top. And as you can see, it's very easy to put it on. And again, it works well if you want to swap out with the other armors. Alright, for the front part, it's actually quite easy. You only have a few, or actually you only have two. So this one just goes in front, and this one just goes on top right here. Let's see. There we go. And just put that back there. It's actually quite interesting. These pegs have a little notch in them that you can only pull them on a certain way. Now for the tail, let's see, where is that part? You're gonna have this pretty much comprised of the blade. So you're gonna remove this rifle right here. It just pops up. And put this thing on there. If you want, you can spread out the blades in a bit, but we'll do that a bit later. Actually, I forgot the lower part of the feet actually pops off, the white piece right here, and you add this on. It's only on one side of the foot and it goes around for all 4 of the feet. This part right here is a little tricky. You have to add this right here. And actually, this is the wrong one. It goes this way. There's a pulley cap right there. And it's one of those, well, it keeps moving on, so you just have to be careful when you're putting it in. And same goes to the other side. There we go. And this just goes up. Alright, for the top part, you have this piece right here, but I find it for some weird or some odd reason it doesn't stick well, so I always add a little bit of masking tape to give it a little bit of friction, and it just goes right here. And gonna give it a little push. Let's see, I have the masking tape now. There we go. And you also have boosters, and this one opens up with a flap. And it just mounts on the side here at the top of the shoulder. And I believe the other kits or the other versions of the Liger, the Jaeger has a more prominent one because I think those ones are more for speed. Although looking at the Schneider right now, each of this has a vent or kind of thrusters. And this thing is already built for speed. You already have this side here, so this guy can go, you know, pretty fast. All right, so next part, this part right here, just on the lower side. It doesn't say on the instruction to add this on, but I just chose to. I think this is part of the armor if you do have the Liger Zero. And it's just best to remove the head or remove the pieces when you're putting the armor. It's a lot easier. And this one just goes this, I believe. There we go. Alright, so the next part will be adding pretty much the side of the face or the mane. So there's 2 pegs, which just goes on those 2 peg holes. I don't think this is utilized for this version. It might be on the other armor. So I was kind of finding it a little hard to put on. There we go. Should just snap in place. There we go. Next one right here. Does the same thing. And I really love the design of the Schneider. Okay, come on. There we go. So you can see there's a lot of thrusters. I'm assuming those are thrusters or some sort. And the blade. We just put this back in. You just pegged in. There we go. And last but not least, gotta have the big sword right on top of the head, or it's kind of like his crest right there. And let me try to put this back on the head. Again, this is a huge kit. There we go. Alright, so a little bit of a size comparison. And I know it's not the same company, but for most of us, like myself, I do collect Gundam kits. And this is a higher right here. As you can see, this is kind of like a big master grade. And for those who love Super Deformed, like myself also, here we go. That's the Alex. Alright, so why don't we play around with the blades, since that's pretty much the main gimmick of the Schneider. And hopefully I can get this correct. without. I'm still kind of scared that since this is a big mold kit that I may break it, but so far it's durable. I didn't have any problems building the kit. None of the pegs broke. So I'm fairly surprised of the durability of this kit. And why don't we just pop this thing down? So it's just kind of like the show. You can have the blade. And actually, I don't know if you guys see that, but there's a thrusters here that moves open. Actually, let me pop this out again. Actually, don't want to keep popping that off, but you guys won't see it if I don't remove it. So look at this closely, and that's pretty cool. Not only that, this thing bends all the way over. So that's a pretty cool gimmick. And let me put it back in again. Oh boy, come on. There we go. And also that white part right there, it extends out, so you can have this pretty far. And it's kind of loose for some reason sometimes, so you gotta make sure it's all the way in. Have that there's also, you can move it up like this, that also. A very good articulation for the blade. Same thing with the other side. And just bring it down. So you have two blades on both sides, although I kind of find that this kind of folds down eventually. So you just have to kind of play around with it, I suppose. Come on. Maybe you have to add a little bit of masking tape. Yep, my solution to everything that's loose, add a little bit of masking tape. Work on it later. Also, you can move this out. And we already talked about the thrusters on the top part right here. So open that up. And over here for the face, or the main, you can have this side open or move forward. Same thing with this. Actually, you kind of have to twist it around. This is kind of hard. With cameras in front of me, it's hard to maneuver. Anyways, so let's just move this forward. So I'm just moving the blades forward. Ah, there it goes. And kind of move all the orange parts forward a little bit. There we go. And if you want, you can have the main blade sticking up, but it's kind of weird. There we go. Kind of like a big star. So let me just push this back a bit. Another thing you can do is extend this parts right here. And I think it's best if you paint that gold inside, which I will eventually. But the one thing I really like about this mold kit right now is the color separation. You don't really need to paint it. It's great if you do. And let me see. Is there any parts that separate? I think that's it. Well, I mean, there probably are other parts here that I haven't. I can't remember if there is another part that extends like that. But that's a cool gimmick. Actually, I think I just bent that. Uh-oh. There we go. Alright, so just a little bit of closer look, and again, there's a vents there. And I think that's just probably just more intake. I'm just going on in a full blast, charging forward. And last but not least, when you have all the blades dashing forward for the kill. Yes. Let's turn this around. Am I doing this correctly? Yep. I think I'm doing it. No, it's the other way around. There we go. And push this thing forward. So you have the 5 blades in front. Then you also have this. So you have 7 blades. It's interesting that they always have 7 blades. You know, 7 swords. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, technically 9 if you have the tail, but you're not gonna have that right in front. And again, you can move this up. Let's see if I can move it up. You can have him like that if you want to. And actually, another interesting that I just thought of is it would be cool if you can kit bash this with Jaeger. You can have the big thrusters on the back. So you can have go with speed and with the blades. But it's probably gonna look a little weird. Alright, so here's a side view. Just a little bit of a comparison, and it's, you know, it's quite long again. Again, when you're building this kit, take some time. It took me about 4 or 5 nights of building this. You know, start with the legs, the torso, the head, the armor, and just enjoy it. It's a big kit. There's a lot of parts, but for the most part, some of them are similar, like the legs. It is symmetrical for the most part. There is no one side as a cannon. Although some of the Zoids kits I've noticed do have a bit of asymmetrical with them. But yeah, again, this looks pretty cool. And building this kit kind of makes me want to build another Zoids kit just because of the detail and just how awesome it is. I'm looking forward to getting, well, this is a 4-legged one, the Tiger. Actually, I kind of want to get a lightning sykes, but it's a 4-legged one, and I kind of want to try a different build. So I'm looking ahead and checking out the gun sniper. There's also the Berserk Fury, but you know, it just really depends. Oh, I have other things to build too. But also, I kind of wish that they have this variation with the D-style line. Actually, here's a good comparison with the D-style. You get this really cute, small shield Liger here, and compared to kind of his, like, you know, granddaddy Schneider. It's quite big. But yeah, I kind of wish that they did do a variation on the D-style format. But something tells me they're not gonna do that. Although, kind of wish they did make the gun sniper in a D-style, or maybe the Berserk Fury in the near future. And I think that'll be cool, and I'm sure hope that I'll be able to grab some of those. Alright, so that's it for my review of this Liger Schneider, and I hope you guys like it. And again, this has been an awesome build. I really love this, and I got this from Tatsu Hobby. I think so far they're one of the few sellers that sell Kotobukiya kits, or in particular Zoid kits here in America. You can check out their website, and they still have a couple more available. And you know, I kind of wish there's more out there. Zoids are a pretty cool kit. They are expensive, but for what you're paying, it's worth, you know, the build. It's a great experience. So there you go. That's my review. I hope you guys like it. So until then, this is Meads. Thank you for watching. And likewise, for those who stick around till the end of the review, I do appreciate that, and I always add something at the end. So here we go. 00 Quanta with a full saber, riding the Schneider. Gotta have more blades.